I don't think he's ready on Wednesday, but he'll definitely be ready on Saturday. He's really studious. He's been studying to be the starter since he got here, and he got the opportunity probably sooner than he expected. But we know he's going to do a great job. He's a guy that's played some big-time football games at the college level. Playing at USC obviously is a big benefit for him. He's won games. He knows how to do it. The moment's not going to be too big for him, and we got a game plan we think's really well tailored for the things that he does well. And I'm excited to see how he does.
Joe, that Miami front is pretty imposing. They've already been off to a pretty quick start when it comes to taking out opposing quarterbacks and that. You just touch on the challenge of trying to keep Cody clean and getting him through 4 quarters.
Yeah, well, Miami's front is really good. They spent a lot of money up front, obviously, on their defensive line, and those guys they put them in situations to make plays. They're not gap eaters like some defensive lines. They're up the field, try to wreak havoc, and it's going to be a great challenge for us.
Hey, Joe, I mean, you've been through a lot of crazy stuff here. Where does losing 2 starting quarterbacks in the first 2 weeks rank?
Well, I guess I haven't reflected on where it ranks, but certainly we've been in this situation before where we're down to the third quarterback. Unfortunately, it's happened more times than not in my career. So the guys that have been here for a while, we know how to handle it, and I think the guys that are new. So a quick lesson on being ready, because at any moment you could go from 0 snaps to being a starter.
And with a guy like, quarterbacks are expected to lead, but obviously Cody hasn't played before. How do you kind of help bring him along?
Yeah. Well, I think this week of practice is really important for him to build his confidence. He's naturally a leader because of his temperament, but also his history at the quarterback position, like I mentioned, at USC. So this will be a big week of practice for him, just kind of asserting himself on the offense. And I think you become the leader when you show people you know what you're supposed to do and what everyone else is supposed to do when you're the quarterback. And I think we've got a lot of confidence that Cody's going to know exactly what to do.
So did you see progress in the offense from the first week to last week, and how much of that then was because of Josh?
Yeah, we saw some good progress. Obviously, we didn't have the success in the second half that we wanted. We had some tough breaks, but I thought we made some steps, and I think it'll be key for us to continue making those steps throughout the season. I think going into the season with as many young guys as we've had, we knew that it was going to be important to make those big strides every single week. You see teams that have a lot of veteran starters, they start the season about the same place they finish the season because the ceiling is lower for teams like that. But on a team like us that has many, many rookies that are starting, we've got a really high ceiling, and we've got to keep pushing throughout the season to make those improvements every week so that we're feeling good about where we are at the end of the year.
Joe, you said you felt you had a good game plan for Cody. When is your first look at the game plan?
It's this morning, yeah. Wednesday's our big install day. We install a lot of the passes, all of the runs, all of our base offense type stuff. So that's kind of our big look at it, and then Thursday we'll get into some of more of the sub and third down
I'm
stuff.
interested, when the coach introduces the game plan, does everybody in the room, you go page by page?
Yep, yeah, for the most part, at least in the run game. Once you get to the routes, the offensive line always breaks off because you don't want to waste our time talking about catching the ball. We usually just talk about the protections then, and for the most part, protections are always the same from week to week.
Does the head coach then describe the type of games he'd like to see? Like, you want to do this?
Well, yeah, so the team meeting that we have, which is one of the first things on a Wednesday morning, is kind of an overview on what it's going to take to win the game. We go over the goals. We go over the opposing players that are highlighted that we need to find a way to handle. And then from there, we'll break down into more specifically how we're going to achieve the goals that week.
Is that always the head coach speaking?
Well, because our head coach is our offensive coordinator, you do get both of those from the same guy. But usually the head coach talks about the 10,000-foot view, and then the offensive coordinator will get more specifically into exactly the game plan.
At this stage of your career, do you have a standard speech that you give the next quarterback who comes? Or what did you say to Charlie White?
Nice to meet you.
What do you know about Charlie? I mean, honestly, on Whitehurst, how do you get acclimated to somebody
Yeah.
who might be in the game fast?
Well, you just try to make friends with him quick. Oh, hey. You just try to introduce yourself, get to know him a little bit, and then get right to work. It's a busy, full work week in the NFL, and you don't really have a whole lot of time for get to know yous, but the best place to get to know somebody is on the football field.
Joe, you've seen a lot of quarterbacks obviously play behind you. Have you ever seen anything like this? 3 quarterbacks in a row, 3 different weeks. How do you process that?
We've had a lot of similar situations. We finished the season last year like 2 or 3 in a row. I don't know what the number is, but we had Josh, Johnny, and Austin, and then my first few years it was like a back and forth between Brady and Derek for a while, and then we threw Ken Dorsey in there and another guy. So this is not uncharted, maybe back to back to back, I'm not sure, but it's something you can't really focus on too much. You get asked about it and you got to have an answer, but for the most part, my job is always the same, and that's comforting.
How about 5 different in 5 straight weeks? That's the streak you're on, dating back to last season.
It gives you guys something to write about. I'm happy for you guys. Makes your job easier.
Can you admire a guy like Cody, a guy from Bakersfield who thought he was going to have to go to junior college? I mean, that's what he just said.
Yeah.
That's kind of been a journey, I guess.
Yeah. You admire a guy that kind of has a chip on his shoulder, a guy like Cody who has had to work for everything and hasn't been given anything. A smaller guy, not your 6'6", 250-pound quarterback, which is your prototypical NFL quarterback. So you respect him because you know that everything he's gotten, he's earned it.
Joe, it's never a good week to have a whole bunch of changes on the line. Is a week like this even worse because of the guys they have even on that front 4? And how confident are you in the guys that you put all together?
Yeah, every week there's challenges. In the NFL, there's great defensive lines every week almost. And so really there's not a good time to switch centers or to have new guys coming in that you've never played with before, but that's what we get paid to do is to be ready on Sunday to play to the best of our ability and to win games. So whoever's going to be in there, we're going to make the most of it and do everything we can to try to win.
Joe, what's your have you had any kind of observation or interaction with Cody that maybe he is a little bit different than a typical rookie?
Well, I think what you see with rookie quarterbacks is a studiousness that you don't see from a lot of other positions, and that's just kind of the nature of being a quarterback. And I think Cody Kessler is no different. You can tell he's been preparing to be the starter from the day he got here. He's a guy that was staying late in the spring, staying late during the summer, feeding off of everything that Josh and Robert said. And so it wasn't like he was sitting back and drawing cartoons in his notebook during meetings. I mean, he was legitimately preparing to be the starter every single week because he knew that was the best way for him to learn this offense and to transition to the NFL. And so his opportunity came sooner than expected, but we have confidence he's going to do a great job.